Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're strapping on our power armor and grabbing our bolters because we're diving into a really epic what if. What if Gladiator 2 took place in the grimdark universe of Warhammer 40,000?
Yeah, that's right. We're going to explore what this classic story of betrayal, rebellion, and vengeance would look like against the backdrop of the 41st millennium. A galaxy teeming with aliens, daemons, and more danger than you could shake a chainsword at.
Wow, I'm already excited. So first things first,
Yeah.
got to set the stage. Think ancient Rome, but on a galactic scale. That's the Imperium of Man. Billions of souls spread across thousands of worlds, all ruled by the Emperor being so powerful he's practically a god.
The Imperium is vast, but it's also a decaying empire, constantly at war with itself and countless external threats. It's a place where faith and fanaticism are the norm, and technology is often indistinguishable from magic.
It's a pretty intense place, to say the least. But it's also the perfect setting for a story like Gladiator 2. So let's talk about our protagonist. In the original movie, we have Maximus, the Roman general betrayed and forced to fight as a gladiator. How would that character translate into the 40K universe?
Well, instead of a general, our protagonist, let's call him Lucius, could be a descendant of a Primarch. Now, Primarchs are essentially demigods, genetically engineered super beings who led the Emperor's armies during the Great Crusade, millennia ago.
Okay, so we're talking serious power here. But if Lucius is a Primarch's descendant, why is he fighting in an arena?
Good question. Perhaps he's been exiled, stripped of his birthright due to some political intrigue or perceived threat to those in power. Maybe he even questioned the Imperium's dogma, a dangerous thing to do in a galaxy ruled by fanatical faith.
So he's got the lineage of a hero, but finds himself at the very bottom of the Imperium's social hierarchy. That's a great setup for a story of revenge. Speaking of which, who will be our antagonist? We need a 40K equivalent of Commodus, the power-hungry Roman emperor.
Right. Instead of one emperor, imagine a council of war masters, ambitious and ruthless military leaders vying for control of the Imperium. These war masters could be corrupted by chaos, a malevolent force that seeks to destroy all of reality, or they might simply be driven by their own lust for power and control.
So we've got Lucius, our fallen hero, forced to fight for survival in the gladiatorial arenas, while these war masters scheme and plot to seize control of the Imperium. It sounds like a classic power struggle, but with some added 40K twists.
Exactly. And speaking of twists, let's talk about the arena itself. Forget the Colosseum. We're talking about a massive structure capable of holding millions, outfitted with advanced technology, force fields, and maybe even weaponry that would make the ancient Romans weep.
Now we're talking. What kind of spectacle would we see in a 40K gladiatorial arena?
Imagine gladiators battling not just each other, but also monstrous alien beasts captured from across the galaxy. Think giant, horrifying creatures with claws, fangs, and maybe even psychic powers. And instead of just swords and shields, we might see gladiators wielding chain swords, plasma pistols, and maybe even piloting small, nimble war machines.
This is already sounding way more intense than anything from the original Gladiator.
Yeah.
Remember, there's more to this story than just action. In Gladiator, we also have the political intrigue and the rebellion brewing against Commodus. How would those elements play out in our 40K version?
Well, the rebellion could be spearheaded by a number of factions, maybe a group of disillusioned nobles who see the war masters for the tyrants they are, or perhaps a secret society within the Adeptus Astartes, the Space Marines, who believe the Imperium has strayed too far from the Emperor's original vision.
So while Lucius is fighting for his life in the arena, there are forces working behind the scenes, plotting to overthrow the war masters and restore order to the Imperium.
Precisely. And it's entirely possible that Lucius, through his actions in the arena and his connection to his Primarch lineage, becomes a symbol of hope for these rebels, a figure they rally around.
That's what I call a setup.
Yeah.
We've got our fallen hero,
Yeah.
our power-hungry antagonists,
And a rebellion simmering beneath the surface, all set against the backdrop of a galaxy on the brink of war.
and we've only just scratched the surface. There's so much more to explore, the potential allies Lucius might find, the unique challenges he'll face in the arena, and the ultimate question of whether he can overcome the odds and bring about real change in the Imperium.
Wow. Before we get too far ahead of ourselves, let's take a break here. When we come back, we'll dive even deeper into the world of Gladiator 2 in the 41st millennium.
It's fascinating to think about how Lucius's journey would mirror Maximus's, but with a distinctly 40K twist. Both characters are driven by vengeance, stripped of their former glory, and forced to fight for survival.
Right. They're both underdogs in their own way, but I imagine the stakes were even higher for Lucius, considering the sheer scale and brutality of the 40K universe. Absolutely. The Imperium is a place where even a minor transgression can lead to horrific punishment, and the enemies Lucius might face in the arena, orcs, demons, maybe even corrupted humans, are far more terrifying than anything a Roman gladiator ever encountered.
It makes you wonder how someone like Lucius, with his noble lineage and Primarch blood, would adapt to such a harsh environment. Would he embrace the brutality? Or would he cling to some semblance of his former ideals?
That's a great question, and I think it gets to the heart of what makes this 40K Gladiator 2 concept so compelling. Lucius could easily become a hardened, cynical killer, driven purely by revenge. But what if he doesn't? What if he uses his time in the arena to become a symbol of hope, a rallying point for those who oppose the War Master's tyranny?
Now that's an interesting angle. He could be a gladiator who fights not just for his own survival, but for the soul of the Imperium itself. Speaking of the War Masters, let's delve into their characters a bit more. They're clearly the antagonists of this story. But what motivates them? Are they all just power-hungry villains? Or is there more to their story?
Well, in the 40K universe, things are rarely black and white. The War Masters could be driven by a genuine belief that they are saving the Imperium, even if their methods are brutal and unforgiving. Perhaps they see the Emperor's vision as fading, and believe they're the only ones who can restore order to the galaxy.
So they could be fanatics, convinced that they're doing the right thing, no matter the cost.
Yeah.
That adds a layer of complexity to their villainy. It's not just about personal ambition. It's about ideology and the clash of different interpretations of the Emperor's will.
Exactly. And imagine the tension if Lucius, through his Primarch heritage, represents a more pure or ancient understanding of the Emperor's vision. He could become a direct threat to the War Master's authority, not just through his actions, but through his very existence.
That's a recipe for some serious conflict. It's not just about who controls the Imperium, but about whose interpretation of the Emperor's will is the true one. It makes you wonder if there's even room for compromise in a universe as rigid and dogmatic as 40K.
I doubt it. The Imperium is built on faith and obedience, and any deviation from the accepted dogma is seen as heresy. So the conflict between Lucius and the War Masters would likely be an all-or-nothing affair, with the fate of the galaxy hanging in the balance.
Speaking of the galaxy, let's not forget about the rebellion brewing against the War Masters. We touched on it earlier. But what kind of factions could be involved? And how might Lucius, fighting in the arena, become a symbol of this rebellion?
Well, imagine a group of Space Marines, disillusioned by the War Master's brutality, secretly working to undermine their authority. They could see Lucius, with his Primarch lineage, as a potential leader, someone who could unite the Imperium under a true vision of the Emperor's will.
So they see him as a figurehead, a
Almost.
symbol of hope in a galaxy that's grown increasingly dark and oppressive.
Exactly. Or perhaps the rebellion comes from a more unexpected source. A group of aliens who see the Imperium's weakness as an opportunity to advance their own interests. They might try to manipulate Lucius, using him as a pawn in their own galactic game of chess.
That would certainly add another layer of complexity to the story. Lucius would have to navigate not only the internal politics of the Imperium, but also the machinations of alien powers. It's a lot of pressure for one gladiator to bear.
Indeed. And let's not forget about the arena itself. It's not just a place where Lucius fights for survival. It's a stage where the War Masters demonstrate their power and control.
It's a symbol of the Imperium's might, but also its cruelty.
Precisely. Imagine millions of spectators, their voices echoing through the vast arena, cheering as gladiators clash and alien beasts roar. It's a spectacle designed to awe and intimidate, a reminder of the War Master's absolute authority.
But it's also a breeding ground for rebellion, and a place where people are forced to confront death and violence so directly, it's only natural that some would question the status quo.
And Lucius, with his charisma and his connection to the Primarchs, could easily become a focal point for that discontent. Imagine him rallying his fellow gladiators, inspiring them to fight not just for their own survival, but for a better future for the Imperium.
Now that's a scene I'd love to see. A gladiator rebellion, led by a Primarch's descendant, challenging the authority of the War Masters themselves. It would be an epic clash, a true testament to the power of hope in the face of overwhelming darkness.
And it perfectly captures the essence of what makes this 40K Gladiator 2 concept so captivating. It's a story about rebellion, about challenging authority, about finding hope in the most unexpected places, and it's all set against the backdrop of a galaxy teetering on the brink of annihilation.
We've covered so much ground already, but I feel like we're just getting started. We still need to explore the potential allies Lucius might find, the dangers he'll face in the arena, and the ultimate showdown with the War Masters.
And that's exactly what we'll do when we return for the final part of our deep dive.
All right, we're back, ready to finish our deep dive into this Gladiator 2, reimagined in the Warhammer 40K universe. We've explored Lucius's journey from fallen hero to potential rebel leader. We've delved into the motivations of the power-hungry War Masters, and we've glimpsed the simmering rebellion that threatens to erupt across the Imperium. But now it's time for the main event, the climax of this epic story.
Imagine this, the Grand Arena, a towering testament to the Imperium's might and cruelty, packed to the rafters with billions of souls, all eager to witness a spectacle of blood and carnage. The air crackles with anticipation as Lucius enters the arena, clad in the battered armor of a gladiator, but carrying the weight of his Primarch lineage in his every stride.
And facing him, arrayed in all their pomp and power, are the War Masters, surrounded by their elite guard, their faces twisted with a mixture of arrogance and barely concealed fear. They know that Lucius is more than just a gladiator. He's a symbol of defiance, a threat to their carefully constructed grip on power.
The tension in the arena is palpable. The crowd roars with a mixture of bloodlust and apprehension. They've come to see a fight, but they also sense that something momentous is about to unfold. This isn't just about gladiatorial combat. It's about the fate of the Imperium itself.
So how does this showdown begin? Does Lucius charge headlong into the War Master's guard? Or is there a more calculated strategy at play?
Remember, Lucius has spent time in the arena. He's learned to adapt, to survive against overwhelming odds. He might start by playing the role of the obedient gladiator, engaging in a series of staged battles against other warriors, all the while observing the War Masters, their weaknesses, their patterns.
So he's biding his time, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. But what about the rebellion? Are they just sitting back and watching this unfold? Or do they have a role to play in this final confrontation?
The rebellion is cunning, patient. They understand that a direct assault on the War Masters within the arena would be suicide. Instead, they might use the chaos of the final battle as a distraction, launching a coordinated attack on key strategic targets throughout the planet or even across the sector.
So while Lucius is fighting for his life in the arena, the rebellion is striking from the shadows, aiming to cripple the War Master's power base and create a window of opportunity for Lucius to deliver the final blow.
Exactly. And imagine the scene as the rebellion's plans start to unfold. Explosions rock the arena, communication systems go haywire, and panic starts to spread among the War Master's forces. They realize they're under attack, but they're also trapped, forced to contend with both Lucius in the arena and the rebellion closing in from all sides.
It's a chaotic, desperate battle, with loyalty shifting and the fate of billions hanging in the balance. But in the midst of all this chaos, Lucius remains focused. He knows this is his chance, not just to exact revenge, but to strike a blow for the heart of the Imperium's corruption.
And he's not alone. Remember those whispers of rebellion we discussed earlier? Imagine them now, spreading through the arena, igniting a spark of defiance among the gladiators, the guards, even some of the spectators. They see Lucius not as a condemned criminal, but as a symbol of hope, a leader worth fighting for.
So the final battle isn't just Lucius against the War Masters. It's a rebellion erupting from the very heart of the Imperium's most brutal spectacle.
Precisely. And as the War Masters' forces crumble under the combined assault of Lucius and the rebellion, the crowd itself becomes a force to be reckoned with. They surge into the arena, overwhelming the remaining guards, turning the War Masters' own spectacle against them.
It's a stunning reversal of fortune, a testament to the power of hope and defiance, even in the face of overwhelming odds. But what about Lucius? What's his fate in all of this? Does he confront the War Masters directly? Or does he become a more symbolic leader, inspiring the rebellion from afar?
That's the beauty of this 40K reimagining of Gladiator 2. There are so many possibilities. Lucius might engage in a final epic duel with the War Masters, wielding his Primarch-forged weapons with deadly skill. Or he might rally the rebellion from the heart of the arena, his voice booming across the shattered remnants of the War Master's authority, calling for a new era for the Imperium.
And what about the ending? Does Lucius achieve his revenge? Does he overthrow the War Masters and claim his birthright? Or is there a more bittersweet conclusion, one that reflects the grim reality of the 40K universe?
Even in victory, there's always a sense of loss in the 40K universe. The Imperium is a vast, decaying empire, beset by enemies on all sides. Even if Lucius triumphs, even if he brings down the War Masters and inspires a new wave of hope, the fight for survival is far from over. There will always be another threat, another conflict, another enemy lurking in the shadows.
So the ending of our 40K Gladiator 2 might not be a triumphant one. It might be a moment of respite, a brief glimmer of hope in a galaxy consumed by darkness. But it's also a reminder that the fight for a better future is a never-ending one.
And that, perhaps, is the most powerful message we can take away from this deep dive. Even in the grimdark future of Warhammer 40,000, hope endures. The human spirit, even when battered and broken, can find the strength to resist tyranny, to fight for a better tomorrow, even if that tomorrow is always just out of reach.
What an incredible journey this has been. We started with a simple what if, and ended up exploring the very depths of the Warhammer 40,000 universe. We've seen how the themes of betrayal, rebellion, and vengeance can resonate even in the most fantastical of settings.
And we've glimpsed the enduring power of hope, even in a galaxy as dark and unforgiving as the 41st millennium.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We hope you've enjoyed exploring the possibilities of Gladiator 2 in the Warhammer 40,000 universe. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep into the realms of imagination.